your sheet that I gave you, we're just going to kind of go through this first slide. It says proportional relationships can be represented by tables, graphs, and equations. So I've given you an example of all three. An example of an equation would be y equals 3x. Okay? An example of a table is given below. And then an example of a graph is given at the right. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Equations, tables, and graphs. So let's look at that very first slide. It said Marcos is a personal trainer at a gym. In addition to a salary, he receives a bonus for each client he sees. Graph the data. What can you deduce? So now if you notice here, okay, obviously I had to make this a pretty tall graph, right? So what do you think we should go by in terms of tick marks on the y-axis? Because just look at our values here. I've got 45, 90, 135, 180, and 225. 7, 8, 9, 10. I would probably go by tens. Okay? Because if you counted, there's like 22 or 23 marks. So I would probably go by tens on each of these. So this is what you need to do. And so what that means, you don't have to number all the way up. You just have to put that first one so that I know that each of them goes by 10. So now the first one, I'm going to plot the point 1 and then 45. So here's 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 5. There you go. And that's the nice thing about the 5 is it's halfway in between. The next one, 2 and then 90. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay? 3, 135. 100, 10, 20, 30, 35. Okay? 4, 180. And then 5, 225. So when we graph this data, we're just going to go ahead and draw a line through it. Oh. So in looking at that data, what can you just tell me about the graph? What are some observations that you make? What are some observations that you can make?
It increases by 45.
It increases by 45, so basically, each additional client brings him in how much more money? $45. Okay? I have a question here. What would the graph go through at 0? If there's no clients, how much extra would he make?
0.
Nothing. That's right. So it actually goes through the point here too. Okay? Because he's not going to make any money if he doesn't see any clients. I mean, he's going to get his base salary, but he's not going to make anything above and beyond. So let's go and look at the next slide. It says, write an equation for the relationship. So what we're going to do here, okay, is I'm going to go ahead and plug in my value of 0. And I know that if he sees 0 clients, my bonus pay is also 0. And that's really important. We always need to find where that 0 point is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what the slope is, or the rate of change, which is what we've learned. So remember how we do that? I figure out the change in y. What's the change in y there going to be? 45, right? And that's a positive 45. What's the change in x going to be here? 1. So my rate of change will be 45 over 1, or just 45. So now what I need to do is write an equation. So this is my equation. I'm always going to start with a y. Equals Then I'm always going to put this number that I found right here. And I'm going to take that times x. Okay? And then last but not least, I'm going to look at this number with 0. And this number was 0 is 0. So basically, I could put plus 0, or I would just have y equals 45x. Now the next question says, predict the amount of Mark's bonus if he sees 8 clients. So how do you think I could figure out how much he makes? What would I do with this 8? Yeah, I'm just going to take that 8 and put it right in here for x. Okay, so y equals 45 times 8, which is what? How much does he make? 360 bucks. Yep, good job. So that's what you're going to be dealing with today. You're going to have to write an equation, and then you're going to have to evaluate. You're going to have to take this value and plug it into that equation. So let's look at another one. Okay? A professional soccer team is donating money to a local charity for each goal they score. So let's go ahead and graph. Okay? All right. What do you think I should use for y-axis on this one? 25, nice job. That's a good call. Let's go by 25s. So I'm going to go ahead and plot. My first one will be 1. And then I'm going to go 25, 50, 75. Now the best thing I can tell you to do is think about money. Count that way, because that will help you. 2, and then 150, which would be $1.50. So at 2, I'm going to go 25, 50, 75, 100. 25, 50. 3, 225. So 25, 50, 75, $1. 25, 50, 75, $2, and then 225. And then 4, 300. And then 5, 375. Now I have another question. What would it be at 0? If they score 0 goals, what would they actually donate to the charity? Nothing. So it actually goes through the point 0, 0. So let's go ahead and draw our line through that. Okay. So how much did they donate for each goal? $75. So let's look at the next question. It says, write an equation for the relationship. So first of all, we said in the previous slide that with 0 goals, they give $0. So let's find the rate of change. What do I change here? 75. What do I change here? 1. So my rate of change will be what divided by what? 75 divided by 1. Nice job. And so what does that equal? 75. So can somebody tell me what my equation is going to look like? 75 times x. Yep. And remember, I could put plus my 0, which is right here, but I don't need to. So there you go. It says predict the amount of money that will be donated for 12 goals. So what do you do with the 12? Multiply it by 75. Nice job. So I'm going to take 75 times 12, which is $900. Questions on this? Should be pretty straightforward, is it? Okay, we've got a few more slides to look at. And so we're going to talk about what happens now if it doesn't go through the 0, 0. And so we've kind of addressed that already. So this shouldn't take very long for us to go through. Okay, so it says write an equation for the graph. So what you need to do here is we need to find the rate of change, or the, what do we call the rate of change? Slope. So notice here I've got some points. So I'm going to use this point and this point. So what is the rate of change here? So what's my change in y right here going to be? Let's look. I go from 9 to 12. So what's my rate of change there? 3. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not. And then what's my change in x going to be here? 1. So what is my rate of change going to be? 3 over 1, which is 3. So now I've got to write my equation, okay? So my equation is going to be y equals 3x, and then remember, I always use what value it is at 0. What value is this at 0? 6. Okay, oops, I didn't want to cover up the 6 there, but right here. So it'll be 3x plus 6. Now if that would have been a negative 6, you would have had minus 6. So this is whatever value it touches at the y-axis. All right, let's look another one. Write an equation. So I need to find 2 points it goes through. So I could pick any 2. I could pick this point right here. Okay, see where I've done that purple point? And then I could pick this point up here. Okay, those will work. Otherwise, I could use the point down below as well. Let's figure out the rise. What's the rise going to be here? 4. What's the run going to be? 2. So how do I find my slope? I take 4 divided by what? 2. And I get 2. So then now I go with my y equals. What will y equals? 2x, very good. And then what? Yep. So 1, 2, 3, this is a negative 4. So I'm just going to put 2x minus 4. Now, you could do this. You could do 2x plus negative 4. That's the same thing. Doesn't matter. It's whatever works for you. Okay. And save the best for last now, okay? So here we go. Now there's 2 ways to do this. One, I could actually draw a graph if I wanted to. That's one way. Or I could try to analyze it without the graph. So let's go ahead and figure out what value here will be with 0. Let's look at the pattern. If this is 0, what would my y value be, just in looking at the pattern? What did you say? 0. Okay, let's think. I go 0, 1, 2, 3. What number would be right here, right before? 4. So it's like I'm counting backwards. So now, if you remember what we did when we had the problem about the soccer goals and we had the problem about the trainer, I look at my change here. What's my change going to be? Negative 1. What's my change here? Plus 1. So the rate of change here will be negative 1 divided by positive 1. So what's my rate of change? Negative 1. Okay. So what's my equation going to look like? Yep. Anything else? Plus 4, good job. Now remember, we always use this value here. Okay. So, think you can handle it? You've got a short assignment. If you actually work now, you might be able to get that done. Okay, remember we're going to have our test Friday. Tomorrow I'll have a review sheet for you, okay, to work on in class. Okay, but pages 200 through 201, 4 through 12.